Hi, I am Ellen Donoghue, and this is Your Ardent Nature, in which we explore mindfulness practices and teachings that help us anchor in our sense of aliveness, help us cultivate inner strengths so we may pursue our wholesome, heartfelt aspirations, and help release the grips of anxiety, doubt, and judgment, so we may offer our unique gifts on behalf of all beings on this planet. Welcome. As some of you know, I am a natural resource social scientist, which means I've had the great privilege to study the connections between people in the natural world in a variety of places around the world. And I've also been a wilderness guide and a competitive dog musher. And as you will find in these videos, I integrate nature into all of my mindfulness practices and teachings that I offer here. Though I've had many wonderful human teachers and mentors over my life, by far the most enduring and reliable and constant influence in my life has been the natural world. My greatest teacher, and I suppose that comes from spending tens of thousands of hours and tens of thousands of miles traversing wild landscapes, often by myself or with my dogs, and really connecting with nature in a way that has led me to this place in my life, where I'm now offering these types of practices as best I can. In recent years, I've also delved into Buddhist psychology, having taken a year-long training with one of the foremost Buddhist psychologists and mindfulness teachers, the very generous and wonderful Dr. Rick Hanson. I've also taken courses and certificates in brain science. I'm very fascinated by the evolution of the human brain and how we can enhance the way our mind may be rewired to enable us to offer these gifts to innocent beings, whether it's yourself first, your family, your community, an ecosystem, other beings, whatever it may be. But that is why I do then empowerment coaching as a practice with Ardent Nature. So welcome if this is your first time. Today we're going to explore a very fun practice that I have that I call wooing wonder, courting curiosity, amassing amazement, and awakening awe. Let's get started on this. Oftentimes my clients or people in groups I work with ask for what is an easy mindfulness practice that I can employ that will reduce my anxiety or my judgment of myself, my judgment of others, right? And I understand and appreciate our desire to want something easy, something that will fix things in an easy way. I appreciate that. I'm familiar with that tendency. And I've studied that. I thought about that quite a bit. I've come up with a couple of reasons why I think we are inclined to want the easy way out when really it's right at our fingertips. But I'm just going to offer one thought today. We'll save those other thoughts for future videos. But it is that for many of us, our inner well-being and our personal growth, also our physical well-being. I was a CrossFit trainer for several years, and I found this as well with the people I was collaborating with, that we think of these growth experiences as work. I gotta do it, I must do it. If only I get this right, if only I read Ellen's handout and do this practice, if only she would just send me a text and remind me, or just send me a 1-minute video reminder. I get why we feel that way. Because at least in the American culture, we come from a place of we're striving, efforting, that kind of relentless pursuit of something is seen actually as a positive thing. There's nothing wrong with focusing on, aspiring towards a wholesome aspiration and doing it with doggedness and determination. Ardent is one of my favorite words for that very reason. Anything you're passionate about that is wholesome and good, yay, do it. But when we couple that with I got to, I must, or else, when we add that conditionality, we sacrifice what? Our present moment well-being for some future unknown situation. Yes, we try to set ourselves up for success, take the necessary steps to work towards our goals, right? But fundamentally, cultivating a sense of ease with how it may occur brings us back to that place in the present, which is our most powerful place. So let's go ahead and explore this practice of wooing wonder and awakening awe. Now for you, you may find awe and wonder and curiosity and amazement in something other than nature. But all the videos that we'll be sharing here will connect to nature because it is simply who I am. For me, I need to be in a wild place every day, pretty much. It's as important as drinking water, brushing my teeth, right? Eating. I can go a day or two without doing those things, but then I start to shrivel. And for me, being in nature is just as essential. For you, it might be art, dance, music, maybe cooking. Maybe it is awe and amazement over watching a toddler grow and learn and develop and giggle wildly over the silliest little thing. It may be other aspects of science, whether it's physics or the stars. It may be something else, but find what cultivates for you a sense of awe and wonder in these practices. Today, we focus on nature in particular. Okay, so there are going to be 4 basic tenets that we're going to cover throughout these series that I've kind of gleaned from a variety of wisdom teachers I've come to know. 4 basic tenets. We're only going to cover one today as we dovetail it into this wooing wonder practice. And that is the benefit of enhancing our awareness of how our mind is inclined, or as Dr. Rick Hansen likes to put it, how the mind is resting, for better or for worse, because the mind will take that shape, right? But if we don't know how our mind is inclined, then what happens? It just goes off doing what it does. And when we have an overstimulated nervous system, right, when we're kind of revved up, and I really appreciate that right now, many people are revved up, concerned about their own personal well-being, their family, their community, global politics and health, and you name it, there's a lot going on. I understand that and I appreciate it very much. But when we can bring ourselves to enhance our awareness of where the mind is inclined, that's when we then can take the pause to then evoke a mindfulness practice that may return us to the present moment or return us to a place of ease or comfort or refuge, right? But first we need to kind of know where the mind is at. When the mind and the nervous system is revved up, a lot does happen. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So that's the first kind of basic tenet to dovetail into this simple practices. How is my mind inclined right now? I'm going to pause and I'm going to shift that in a different direction if how it is inclined is not serving me well. But today we're going to explore inclining it in the direction of awe and amazement and wonder and joy. What happens when we do that? Well, let's first talk about what happens when we don't do that, right? When the nervous system is revved up, when we're in that, what we call ego mind, I don't mean egotistical mind, I mean a revved up figure out mind. Nervous system is all heightened, lots going on. This brain of ours has a tendency to default in 2 directions. One of them is towards the past. Or if there were a giraffe in this little image that was chewing its cud in a very healthy, natural way, trying to get all the nutrients from the leaves that it's taken off some thorny tree in Africa, that would be a great thing, right? Because that would be healthy for it. But for humans, ruminating, chewing on a past event in exchange with a neighbor, a loved one, a coworker, playing that video over and over again in our mind, that does not serve us well. And when our nervous system is revved up, it's a guarantee that the ego mind is asking you to redo that movie over and over again, because what? It doesn't actually want you to change. It would rather safety by just being stuck in this rumination. When we are aware of that, then we know to shift out of it. When we are in awe, it's very difficult to go into the past. Awe brings us back to the present moment. The other thing that the human brain likes to do when it's revved up, right, when it's overstimulated, is it obsesses about the future, right? So we may have some outcome that we're interested in. We may have set ourselves up, to pursue some wholesome goal or aspiration, right? And that's excellent to do that. But when we fixate on this has got to happen, this must happen, this needs to happen, then that takes us away from the present moment. It's a very conditionality, or in Buddhism, we call it fixated hope, which is fundamentally a fear-based orientation. So when we are in awe and wonder and joy, it takes us back to the present moment. We're not so obsessed about some future outcome. In the culture that I come from, the American culture, striving, drivenness, efforting, they're actually almost seen as normal attributes, perhaps even healthy attributes. People often talk about how busy they are as though it is a badge of something. But in fact, we can still pursue all kinds of multitasks and objectives in our life without it feeling like we're efforting and striving. We can be in our strongest place in the present with all of our inner strengths surrounding us to pursue it. Okay, let's return to this. When we are in awe and wonder and joy, it actually flips a circuit breaker in our brain that has us kind of stuck in these mental habits, negative mental habits that I've been discussing. It helps us shift out of a tunnel vision. So when we are in that good fear, and when psychologists come up with a better term, or I learn from them, what is the better term for good fear? When we're in good fear, that means this truck is coming down at me. I'm going to swerve out of the way. That's evoking the reactive mode, what Rick Hansen called the red zone, and we act. The blood goes to the big muscle groups, we act and we save our lives or the lives of others. That's a good thing. But when we're in that reactive mode for too long, where humans are not meant to stay, we then are not in our responsive mode of ease, calm, and contentment. And so awe helps us return to that calm, present ease, contentment, joy, shifts us out of the tunnel vision. So that fear-based approach I was mentioning tends to be really tunnel. We can see just one thing, that truck. In those situations, that's great. Move away from truck. But in most of our life, 99% of our lives, we are better off served by having a bigger perspective, right? We're better off being served by the ways that releasing the grips of fears awakens in us a sense of possibility, a sense of broader sense of aspirations. It evokes us, our creativity, where we can solve problems for ourselves, our communities, or others in new ways. We might even begin to collaborate with people we normally wouldn't have thought about or interacted with much because we have that more open perspective. This is my intention, to reduce fear-based tendencies for organizations, groups, and individuals, so we can awaken these other approaches. So when we're in this little practice of awe, you can just do this for 20 or 30 seconds. I recognize I'm taking a few minutes to describe it here, but when we are in this practice of awakening awe, it does help us realize that I don't have to know everything right now. I can just be in awe. I recognize that I went into science because I love figuring things out. I am innately curious. I think I inherited this from my wonderful mother, who's been a lifelong learner and still is today. When we awaken awe, we can feel like I can be okay with not knowing. And for the human brain, that's really important, because when we have a fear-based orientation of our brain, it does not like uncertainty. So we make up all these reasons. Oh, she must be that way. They must be that way, just to get rid of uncertainty. Awe allows us to be okay with being uncertain and just experiencing wonder and amazement. I hope that's clear. So I'm going to be showing several images here just to see if for you, you can do some of these practices. Take 5 or 6 seconds here as you're viewing them to see if it brings forth awe. All the images I show here on my videos are from the explore.org wildlife cameras that I'm a loyal follower of. I also study the chatter comments to see how the connection to wildlife is reframing anxiety, doubt, judgment, etc. So thank you, explore.org. I'm your biggest champion. I speak of you all the time, and I'll be sharing some of the images here. So here's a fun way. Awe can also be playful and fun. A bald eagle couple that I track and follow, the female is incubating eggs here. The male Jack comes in with some nest material, some grasses, with the notion of, here, I'll put this on you, it'll make me even warmer to incubate the eggs. But what I love so much, having watched these birds long enough now, he has an ulterior motive, and that is he wants to incubate. And I find it very inspiring that male bald eagle, and of course male and other raptors, we'll save that for later, love to incubate. They love caring for and participating in the care of the chicks. Look how the tables are turned now. This time it is Audacity, the female, coming in with a stick, with the notion of, hey, check out this great stick I brought. It's for the crib rails, which is really essential in bald eagle nests, to put around the edge so that when the chicks are a couple weeks old and beginning to move around a little bit, they're not going to topple over. But of course, she places it right on his back. And let's be honest, it's because she wants to pester him to get up. So she has her turn to incubate. Another image, another fact here in this nest, if you don't know bald eagle nests, and I hope that you get a chance to one day, they're massive. So consider this is about 6 feet wide. I would love to be living on it for some period of time. It's on top of a tall, topped off tree. Some bald eagle nests get to 8 feet wide. You could put a VW bug inside the tree to create that nest. The other thing that really inspires me are humans. Anyone who dedicates some portion of their life, whether it's 2 hours a week or full time, on behalf of other beings, of an ecosystem, of wildlife that are in desperate need of conservation, working with community partners so we can reduce human-wildlife conflicts. Anybody who does this for a short amount of time or full time definitely is a source of awe and amazement for me. And here is Dr. Peter Sharp. We can gratefully thank him for the return of bald eagles, together with his partners and volunteers, to the Channel Islands in Southern California, where there were 0 at a time just a few decades ago due to human poaching and pesticide DDT. So I am absolutely in awe of that. And it helps that he is here in this image banding some chicks on a bald eagle nest on the Channel Islands. And I understand this man does not like heights at all. And he is up very high doing this for us. So that is even more sense of awe and amazement, at least for me. Some of you may know that I also am fascinated by migration of animals. Again, we're just featuring raptors right now because it's just convenient. But here is the trajectory that Dr. Rob Beauregard, another amazing individual, osprey expert, has tracked for Holly, a female osprey who lives in the northeastern latitudes. I believe this is Eastern Canada where she originates. And he tracks them down. So what we know is that at that latitude, osprey male and female are migrating, of course, to the south, but oh my gosh, how far south? And they're not wintering in the same place. So Holly here is going someplace, her mate is going someplace else. And it's about a 2,000-mile journey, takes several weeks. Then they'll spend winter down south, and it is amazing. I often comment in my presentation, it's like they're texting each other, one from Peru, one from Ecuador, saying, hey, I think I'm heading back north to our nesting grounds pretty soon. The other one back. Sounds good, but the fishing is awesome right now. I'm going to wait a couple days. I'll see you soon. Then 2 weeks later, 2,000 miles later, one will return to their nest way up north within 1 or 2 days, maybe 3 or 4 of the other. It's quite phenomenal. Again, awe and wonder. Here's an image of an osprey couple. This is from Montana, just so you could see that. The other thing that I'm amazed with is flying for the first time. I track these wildlife web cameras for a variety of reasons, but one, when I watch the birds, is to see this live if possible. If not, I'll scroll back a couple hours to at least witness it, because there's something about knowing that this individual being has been an egg. This is a bald eagle, right? It's been an egg for 35, 38, 9 days, hatched, lovingly, dutifully, devotedly cared for by its bald eagle parents for, say, 65 to 85 days. And then something occurs. I'm going to start practicing my wings, which is what this young chick, it hasn't fledged yet, is doing, this hovering behavior, because there's no branches it can practice on. So it's on this rocky outcropping, doing this helicoptering, right? The next day, this bird did fly. This is it flying for the very first time. And of course, I find that very inspirational. Something innately, aspirationally caused for this individual to leave everything it knows and to do what it feels it's right, what is next and best for this individual being. And I think humans, we have a lot we can learn for that. Taking that first flight, being willing to trust our innate skills and abilities, to know that we're going to continue to learn as we progress in our lives, that learning will always be there so that we can pursue. Very empowered to do so. More wonderful images from web cameras. I love them so much. You can explore them yourselves and learn. On the left here, I'll just share that this is the osprey platform I featured in a few images above. This is just when the male had come back, and a black bear has climbed 35 feet up this platform so we can check out if there's any eggs or chicks for a little snack. But of course, it's about 3 weeks too early. So moment by moment, everyone, as we wrap this up here, see if you can find out, test out how your mind is inclined. How is it resting? Enhance your awareness of how your mind is resting. And then choose a practice. In this case, I'm just offering simple practice of eliciting or creating a sensation of awe or wonder. A few more images from the explore.org cameras here. And see if that can then bring you back to the present moment, right? So you're stop ruminating about the past. You're not overly fixated on some future event or outcome. And you're in the present, opening up a sense of possibility, bringing forth your creativity, collaborating in ways you hadn't thought of before. Perhaps you might even fledge from something that you know just feels right. You just know that's where you're destined to do, and you're interested in pursuing that aspiration. Wrapping up with this final slide here, our wild friends inspire us to cultivate determination, persistence, doggedness, their ardent nature, right? And patience in so many wonderful ways. Here's a bald eagle pair in Iowa a few years ago where there was a late spring snows due to what humans have done. We're going to keep working on recovering our climate every day as best we can, right? To restore it back to its wholesome, natural ways. So we're not so disruptive to innocent beings, humans, wildlife, ecosystems that are being affected by how we have altered the climate. But in this case, this couple showed determination and persistence where they continued to incubate these eggs. I'm sharing this also because this is showing us something else. And that is, this is the last image taken of the male on the right. The day after this was taken, he disappeared. The researchers on the ground found that he did end up passing away. And the female then did demonstrate amazing resilience, as our wildlife friends so effectively teach us how to do. She incubated the eggs on her own. And soon after the snow subsided, another male came around and started courting her. And she was receptive to him. She bonded with him, and the other male, this new male partner, raised those 3 chicks. They successfully fledged those 3 chicks, and now they are a bonded pair at this nest site in Iowa. Again, a source of inspiration and amazement. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Again, as I will always ask you, to what do you offer your ardent nature? First and foremost, I hope to yourself. Offer your passion for your well-being to yourself, because I promise you it'll benefit everyone around you. But maybe you offer it to your family, your community, a landscape, an ecosystem, or other innocent beings. And we do this by cultivating our inner strengths, moment by moment, setting our intentions. We do this by reducing those habitual tendencies we have that we just know aren't serving us any longer. You decide what those are. We can always talk about it in the future. And then to the extent we are interested and able, we will offer our gifts. Everybody's gifts is unique on behalf of really all beings on earth. And if you're focusing just on yourself, please know by doing that, you're also focusing on the well-being of everyone. Because if you are thriving, if you are feeling empowered, if you are anchoring in your sense of aliveness for all the good and the challenges that life brings, you will indeed benefit all beings. Thank you so much. This is Ellen Donoghue with Your Ardent Nature.